This is David Waters from the Gators Breakdown Podcast, bringing you a reaction episode of the news of Florida, Georgia, the Florida Georgia rivalry game staying in Jacksonville. And can't tell you how happy I am about that. Not a full podcast episode here, but just enough to get my reaction for the city of Jacksonville announcing that the Florida Georgia game will be staying in Jacksonville through at least 2023. Mayor Lenny Curry, the mayor of Jacksonville, made the announcement Friday morning, October 25th. The game is branded the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, even though the schools don't like that name. But we'll be staying in Jacksonville through 2023. An extension there. The agreement includes an option to extend through 2025 there. So, they did send out a copy of the Memorandum of Understanding here. First reported by the Athletic. We got our hands on it here at News 4 Jax as well, and it includes this new agreement. This new agreement includes significantly higher financial guarantees for the schools, starting with $1 million each in 2020. And the way it was before that, the city will, and how it's explained by the city now, the city will compensate each university with an annual guarantee payment. Currently, it's 250,000 per university, but beginning in 2020, the annual guarantee payment will go up to $1 million. Additionally, the city will include the an escalator as outlined below through the term. So the guarantee schedule starts in 2020 per university getting $1 million. As far as travel goes, the city will maintain current travel stipend and accommodations spelled out in the existing agreement. For clarity, each university receives $60,000 travel stipend, with Georgia receiving an additional up to $350,000 for their air travel there. So, that's part of why this Florida Georgia agreement it was a bigger news hit this time around, more so than in the past, because of course Kirby Smart and him becoming head coach. There's just been a lot of talk of him wanting the Florida Georgia game going to a home and home, him wanting a game in Athens, a game in Gainesville, and mainly because of recruiting. He wants that recruiting home weekend every other year, to host recruits for this Florida Georgia game there. So that's one part I just don't get. I mean, come on, you're losing one home game every other year. It's not that big of a deal. It has been released since by Rivals UGA site that Georgia would now propose to the SEC, probably the NCAA as well, to try and host recruits at the Florida Georgia game. For now, the schools can leave tickets and the recruits have to sit in the stands. But now it looks like Georgia's going to try, and Florida probably be behind. Florida will probably be behind this as well. Maybe look for Texas and Oklahoma to get involved as well with their neutral site game. But now to propose to be able to host recruits at these neutral site games, so I think that would be a step in the right direction. Hopefully, that would calm down Kirby Smart and him wanting the game moved out of Jacksonville and a game moving home and home. Because look, if this game moves home and home, it just becomes another rivalry game. This game is special because it's played in Jacksonville. This game is special because the stadium is split 50-50. This game is special because you have 50% of the crowd doing the Gator chomp in orange and blue, and the other half in red and black, barking like a dog. So, I mean, that's what makes this game unique. That's what makes this game special. I was born in Jacksonville, raised in Jacksonville, a lot growing up. I was raised in Southeast Georgia after moving from Jacksonville. And look, a lot of my best friends are Georgia fans. This game means a lot to me. This game is a personal game for me in a good way. I love the atmosphere. I love the rivalry of Florida Georgia. It is the best game in sports to me. Of course, I'm biased for that, but because that where I was raised and being around the Jacksonville area, yeah, I want this game to stay in Jacksonville, but also because of it's a tradition. It's a college football tradition, and we're getting away from traditions in college football. Florida and Auburn barely play anymore because of SEC expansion and the way the schedule rotates. Florida and Miami don't play a whole lot anymore, and you don't hear, at least from where I'm standing, I don't hear a lot of Texas and Oklahoma, either one of those schools, when this game moved out of the Cotton Bowl when they play in that neutral site game. Maybe there is that talk. I don't know, but it does seem like, especially on the Georgia side of this rivalry, that they want this game out of Jacksonville. I get that maybe people want to see a home and home, see Georgia in the swamp and Florida between the hedges, but nah, not me. I want the game to stay in Jacksonville. I'm just that I'm that selfish, I guess. I'm that biased too, I guess. I just want this game to stay in Jacksonville, and I don't get the complaint from the a lot of the Georgia fan base as well of it's not fair that it's only an hour and a half from Florida's campus. The game being in Jacksonville, it's only an hour and a half from Florida's campus. Georgia has to fly down here. Yeah. By the time Georgia flies down here, and Florida takes a bus up from Gainesville, travel time is negligible. It's small at best. So don't give me the whole travel time and that it's not a neutral site game. You go there, you get around Jacksonville, you get around that stadium. There's a lot of Georgia fans here. There's a lot of Florida fans here. It's pretty split outside the stadium. It's definitely split inside the stadium. Look, I grew up in Southeast Georgia. I know many Georgia fans who make this their home game, who don't have to travel as far to go to Athens. There's a big, Georgia alumni base in Jacksonville. One of the biggest Bulldog Gator clubs is in Jacksonville. So, as far as it not being fair, I don't buy that. Look, put it this way: I'm so staunch in how I think about this. There is no reason anybody can give me for this game to not be played in Jacksonville, and especially now with this big money boost and these schools getting $1 million a piece coming up. That's gonna keep this game here for a while, and we'll kind of see what happens. Of course, go back and highlight it. We'll have to go back and see, around 2023 what happens to this, around for this extension, the option to extend through 2025. These schools will have to make that decision, around 2022, I believe. So, just looking at that part of it, it will. This game will be in Jacksonville for a little while. But as Mayor Lenny Curry here in Jacksonville says, my team and I have reached an agreement. The Florida Georgia game has been extended through 2023 with an option to extend to 2025. So I'm glad. I'm happy. Kind of known throughout the week that this is going to be announced on Friday here. So it just been, I can't tell you how happy I was to hear throughout the week that this was going to be announced. The Florida Georgia game was going to be announced, that it was going to be staying in Jacksonville, and hopefully will be staying in Jacksonville for years to come. So, of course, Gators Breakdown will have you covered all throughout the week coming up. Florida Georgia game coming up, and plenty of coverage at News4Jax at news4jax.com/Gators Breakdown. It's the Ben Troop will be with me again next week. Previewing this game. Will Miles on Monday will help. Will jump in and help me preview this game as well. Well, I'll have a Georgia guest on too. Probably Mike Griffith again, like I had last year from Dog Nation up there in Atlanta. But plenty of Florida Georgia coverage coming your way next week. A top 10 matchup, of course. Top 10 matchup for 2 years in a row now with Dan Mullen leading the charge for the Gators. So it's gonna be a fun one. It's gonna be a fun one, but good news here. Good news here, at least from my side, that this game has been announced that it's going to be staying in Jacksonville, and I can't be happier about that. So check out the Gator panel. It was released earlier this morning there. So Uncle Silk, myself, Nick De La Torre, Dan Thompson, excuse me, and Zach Alberverdi there get together. Really good discussion about this season so far. Some discussion about Florida Georgia coming up and the rest of the season coming up as well. So yeah, plenty of coverage, plenty of Florida Georgia coverage there at Gators Breakdown. So give us a follow on Twitter at Gators Breakdown. You can follow me on Twitter at GatorDave_SEC. Check out the podcast on all the podcast platforms out there. And again, at news4jax.com/Gators Breakdown. Guys and girls out there, thanks for listening to this episode of Gators Breakdown.